Hello, Cheeseheads, and welcome to another preview of a Premier League game. This week we've got Liverpool in a top of the table clash. Joining me to discuss that and the Europa League draw, all the way from Vienna, is the Harlow Globetrotter. How you doing, HG?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm just excited about the Europa League draw, but we'll get to that later. But I'm doing well.
Well, no, let's crack straight into the Europa League draw. Let me see if my technology works. I'm also playing around with OBS Studio. It's part of the reasons I've done this. So now live, I'm going to bring up the Europa League draw on the screen.
Yeah, I mean this is it. It's probably the draw I wanted. Although they play their home games in the Europa League in Klagenfurt, which is about 4 hours away. Obviously, an Austrian team against Spurs was the dream. So. When I saw Wolfsburg come out first, I was like, "Oh no, there's no chance that Spurs will be second out of a hat. That would be incredible."
Yeah.
And then it happened. So thank you, Mr. Manish. And yeah, I mean, it's a great draw. It's a great draw for me. It's a great draw for Wolfsberger, but it is a great draw for Spurs because they're probably, I mean, certainly coefficient-wise, I think they're the easiest team we could have taken. So I'm really happy.
And this is Wolfsburg in Austria. I mean, who would think it was the German one? Just some idiot who wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah, I heard about that. Was it like Sky who just assumed that Wolfsburg and Wolfsberg were the same? I don't know. Like, I mean, they're not a big Austrian team by any means. I mean, to even get to the Europa League was a bit of a feat. They did it last year, were I think knocked out in the group stages then. But to make the last 32 it's a really great story for everyone. I mean, I'm genuinely thrilled for everyone because I mean Spurs in Austria twice in 3 months.
Yeah, I was referring to myself, HG. Kind of you not to point that out, but yeah, it is a great result. It's not quite such an easy journey for you to get there, is it? It's like 4 hours on the train or something rather than the 1.5 that was Linz.
Yeah, it's definitely further away. It's one of those things. Like I also saw that it's an early kickoff. So I have to get there for 7 o'clock, which makes the journey home a bit easier. But still, I've got some things I need to do before I can make sure I go. But it may be a bit more difficult this time just because of the distance. But I'm still thrilled.
Exactly.
Because it's home, you know.
Yeah, and definitely a winnable tie. I mean, let's talk about some of the teams you wanted to avoid. And thankfully, Man United managed to get Real Sociedad. I didn't fancy them at the moment. Aren't they still top of the Spanish league?
Yeah, they are. The Spanish league's a bit weird because some teams have, I think, played more games than others. The Sociedad could be overtaken if other teams win their games in hand. But yeah, they've got some good players. They've got obviously Nacho Monreal, who used to be at Arsenal, and David Silva, I think, went there. But Isaac, I think he might still be there, the Swedish guy. So yeah, they're a good team. They did well last year to make the Europa League, and now they're flying high. So yes, it's great that we didn't get them.
And what about the Gooners drawing Benfica? That's another tough one.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I did go on the Gooner forum I tend to follow just to see what their reaction was going to be, and I think there was a Champions League game that the two teams played against each other almost 30 years ago that the Goons haven't forgotten. So this is a good tie for them. I think they want a bit of revenge, but let's be honest, it's a good tie for Benfica. Benfica is the retirement home of Portugal right now with Vertonghen and Otamendi there, and they got the English version. So it's going to be one for people who have been watching football for the last 15 years and know all the names.
Yeah. And just some of the big teams that we avoided as well. There's from the Italians. There's Roma, Napoli, AC Milan, Ajax. Didn't Ajax get Lille? I think
they did. Yeah, that's probably I would say the biggest game because they're both doing quite well now. I mean, we're not talking about historical names like United or Arsenal, but actual teams that are doing well. So, yeah, Lille versus Ajax is probably the biggest game. It was fun to see two Champions League dropouts draw each other. It'd be nice to see. I mean, because Lille weren't, but there was a game. I think it's the Brugge game where two Champions League teams drew each other. But I think that it might be nice in the future that because they do split the two sets, or they split the Champions League teams up, they should make it so they have to play each other. That would be fun.
Yeah, get it cut in half. It's not a bad idea.
Exactly. Just they have their own section of the draw, and so only one of them can make like the quarterfinals or semi-finals or something like that because they've knocked each other out.
Yeah.
That would be something. But yeah, I mean, we've got what 2.5 months now till the next game. It's Yeah, Europa League. I mean, like this is the weird thing. Like Spurs being in the Europa League is not good for Spurs, but it did increase the chances of them coming to Austria. So
It is a
I'm,
bit odd though, isn't it, that we have all these games bunched up in such a tight period, and then they're like, right, see you in 2.5 months. It
yeah,
feels like they could have stretched it out a bit longer, but I suppose it's a lot of these European countries. It's bloody cold right now, so they probably think otherwise.
yeah, and the best thing is that it's two legs
Mm,
finally. Like I feel like we're getting somewhat back to normal when it comes to European football. I know
mm.
that the first three playoff games were a bit weird in and of themselves, but now we know even if we have a bad night in Klagenfurt, we can certainly turn it around. So it's a nice place to be.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Right, let's get back to the game we're all thinking about now. We've just seen some great results for us tonight, haven't we, HG?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all hoped that Wolves might get something from Chelsea, but I don't think we thought that they were going to win. I know
No.
it was a last-minute winner, pretty much, but still, it's that's fantastic news because Chelsea, they may not have figured out their best 11 yet. I still think Frank's tinkering probably a bit too much. But yeah, any dropped points works in Spurs' favour. So especially when we've got Liverpool tomorrow, it's a great result.
Yeah, and West Brom basically learnt the formula to beat not lose to Man City tonight, sticking six at the back.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works. I haven't seen the goals from that game, but I did see that it was an own goal, wasn't it, for West Brom to get the equaliser. So yeah, you take what you can get. Man City had enough chances at the end. I did see that to win the game. I'm pretty happy they didn't because those two headers really should have gone into the back of the net. But yeah, and more drop points. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what we want to see. Like, it does mean that as awful as it would be to lose against Liverpool tomorrow, which none of us are really contemplating, but if
no.
it did happen, top four you'd still have to hope is the target, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and so dropped points for everyone else just means that tomorrow's game is a little bit more of a gimme, even though, yeah, I don't know. It's I'm trying to what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to prepare myself for a defeat tomorrow night by saying it's not going to be so bad because of the other results.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. No, I mean, that's the thing. It's very tight at the top, isn't it? So you only need a win or two from some of the other teams, and we're dropping down. You look at Chelsea drop down to fifth when they lost at the weekend, and tonight's result won't have helped them. But a team puts a few games together, and they're right up there. So it's good to see the teams around us dropping points at any time, and hopefully Leicester do the same. Let's talk about the game itself. Liverpool. We saw the pre-match press conferences today with Jose and Klopp, and Klopp was weirdly sort of complimentary towards Spurs. It feels like they were both doing a bit of mind games and a bit of diversion, and you kind of pointed out what Jose was saying about the Liverpool squad and their injuries. He got asked about and said, well, they haven't really got many injuries at all. It's only Van Dijk, isn't it? The rest of their team's pretty much first team players, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, for a lot of last season, I felt that Van Dijk and Matip were the two central defenders, and if Matip plays, then obviously then that's someone who's stick around. But Gomez might well be the best partner for Van Dijk, and he's out as well. So let's say, if we're kind, they've lost both of their centre backs, which is a big deal. But everyone else from the team that let's say won the Champions League is still there. They're not struggling for numbers. I think Henderson. I haven't heard that he's injured, so he should play. And Wijnaldum is fit. We all know the front three with Mane, Firmino, and Salah can beat anyone. So look, I understand that. Yeah, like if you go behind the first 11, then yes, they've got a lot of squad players injured. There might be a couple of academy products on the Liverpool bench, but yeah, it's not as if we're playing those academy products. No, we are still playing. Not just good players, but players that have won the Premier League and won the Champions League.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's it. Players like Henderson are injured as well, but he's no longer a fundamental part of that team. He's a great option off the bench, and people like Shaqiri as well would be. So they've lost some of their fringe players, but that first 11 is still there. They can still put out one of their strongest sides, I think. But with their defence slightly depleted, would you like to see us more on the front foot and try and give them a game tomorrow, rather than the defensive tactics we've seen against the other teams in the top six?
Yeah, I think it all depends on the first 10 minutes.
Sorry, top six and Arsenal. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I do. I think it all depends on the first 10 minutes.
Mm.
If Liverpool take the game by the scruff of the neck, which I think they're going to want to do, they started poorly against Fulham. They won't want to do that again. If they start well, then we may have to go into the low block and try and hit on the counter. If they don't, if we decide that we want to really go for it in those first 10 minutes and try and take it to them, then I'd like to see us do it. But like it always reminds me of a game that I watched a few years ago. I think it was the famous. Everyone remembers the famous comeback from Barcelona against PSG,
Yeah.
but it was the first game. This is the one that I always remember, where PSG beat Barcelona 4-0.
Mm.
And basically, what they did was they attacked for 15 minutes, and then they did nothing for 15 minutes,
Yeah.
and then they went for it for 15. And every time they went for it, they got a goal. And I'd like to see Spurs do a little bit something like that, where we're not just waiting for the right moment. There is a plan, but we're going to be smart about it and pick good moments to do it. And I do think that early on at Anfield you do want to keep it tight, but then once those first 15 minutes have been played, then we can start to think, okay, what can we do? So. Like Mourinho is obviously far more experienced than I am and knows a lot more about this than I do, but I don't want us to play 90 minutes just on the counter attack because much as this Liverpool side is good, right, and they do have players fit who are great players. When you see Fulham do it, you do have to think we can do it too.
Yeah, I agree. Some of Jose's other comments today around. He said that Klopp had something like 1,100 days in charge, whilst he's only had like 300 and something. And then he said, but obviously because of like COVID and things like that, he's had even less. And he was making a point that he's not really had a lot of time to work with the team. But that again must be mind games, because they're clearly playing to Jose's orders these days, aren't they?
They are. I mean, it's one of those things. Like everything that Jose said today is completely true. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but. He's downplaying himself. We are the small pony. Liverpool are the big team that are used to winning, and it's all true.
Yeah.
So you'd have to think that Liverpool are favourites, and obviously Liverpool want to downplay that and say, well, Spurs are a team that picks up points with all the things that Klopp said. But it makes sense for both teams to do that. I don't think either side wants to go into the game believing the hype. Because they know that it can have a damaging effect. So, yeah, it is strange, because I think sometimes you'd like to see the two best teams go at it with confidence and really want to be to outplay each other. In our situation right now, it is about managing expectations.
Do you not think in the dressing room though, Jose will be saying to them, "Come on, guys, we can do this today. We can beat Liverpool"?
Yes, but I think it will be according to Jose's game plan, right? So if the game plan is to do what we've done in previous games recently, then the players will believe in that, and they've seen it work, and they'll want to do it. So I don't think that Jose is going to tell them that they can't win, and that we're not going to approach it like West Brom did to get their game tonight. But it's not going to be to go and outplay them. We want to outscore them. We don't care about possession stats. We don't care about chances created. All of that, not really. We care about goals.
Yeah.
And I think that how Jose goes about that, the players will be well aware of before anything really happens.
So if we go 1-0 up early on again, HG, do you think we'll then be sitting back for the rest of the game?
Hopefully not as early as, what was it, a couple of seasons ago when Kane scored after like 45 seconds. That was...
Yeah, I can't handle a whole game. Not again.
Seriously. I'd just like to think that we take our chances when they come. I mean, like I don't mind going to Anfield and sitting back, but we have to look like we know what we're doing on the counter attack. We didn't see that against Palace for various reasons. We may not see it against Liverpool, but we had seen it previously. We have looked. Not just dangerous, but clinical on the counter-attack. So if that happens, then fair enough. But I don't know. Like I do want to think that fortune favours the brave. Like if we go there and lose 3-1 and we've tried, we're all going to be sad because like we've lost. However, there's no guarantee that playing defensive is going to get you those things. And I don't know. It's definitely weird, because I do think every Spurs fan wants to see us try to win the game, not just hope to take advantage of mistakes, but actually to go out there and try and win it. and it's all about the result for Mourinho. So it's a strange quandary to be in, but I don't feel any pressure. I know it's a top of the table clash that Spurs aren't usually involved in, and if
Hmm.
we are, we've really nothing to lose because we're behind. This is the first time that I can remember where we've actually been ahead. If we do lay down a marker and win, then everyone is suddenly going to think that this team is here to stay.
Mm. Yeah, no, I agree. Right, so on that basis, HG, let's have your predictions for tomorrow night.
My predictions.
What did you say on the pod at the weekend? I can't even remember. Do you?
I think I said we were going to lose because that's just me. I mean, it's Liverpool way. Like, we never win there. I mean, that we all know the history. We all know what it's like. We know that, like, if Klopp has 9 of his best 11,
Mm.
that's still good enough to beat 11 of our best 11. I mean, it really is. So, okay, I'll be a bit more positive tonight. I think we'll nick a draw, but I don't see us winning it, and I think that is partly because of history,
Mm.
and partly because of me just trying to protect my own feelings.
No, that's fair enough. I think you're downplaying it all this season, HG, and I think we're just going to have to learn to accept that. I mean, a draw will be a good result. I don't think any Spurs fan would argue with that. I'm feeling slightly bullish, so I think we might go and do it tomorrow night. 2-1, that's what I'm going with, but we'll see.
Yeah,
You can
it would be great to see that happen. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, you are right. I'm downplaying the whole thing. It's still only game number 13. There is a long way to go.
Absolutely. And those watching, you can probably see the ticker above saying, please join our Patreon. We've had a really great response and we're having a lot of fun chatting with those guys in our match day chat and things like that. And obviously you can get exclusive pods, videos, articles, all on our Patreon site. £3 a month, which is, the price of half a beer at the new stadium. So please support the Cheese Room if you enjoy it. Get involved, and we'd love to see you there and chat on our match day chats. Right, until next time, come on you Spurs and let's win tomorrow night.
Come on, you Spurs.